remember who you're serving. First of all, if you want to be profitable, if you're wanting to make money, look at who you're serving. Like, let's just cut out like offense here. Let's just put it away. Let's put our egos, our pride, basics of marketing. Like, who are you serving? Welcome back to the What Went Wrong podcast. I am your host, Tabitha Thorell, and today I have a very special guest with me, my husband, Tracy. Say hi to everybody.
Hello.
And we're going to do something a little unique, a little fun today. We are talking about some untold stories. And actually, to be real, we all know the story. We're really talking about the blunders of some big name businesses, of things that they have done or they have failed at recently, and some not so recently, that everyone keeps like talking about, but no one's really talking about it. So we thought, hey, let's just have a conversation and talk about it, because this is what me and my husband do. We love to watch stories about businesses and how they've succeeded and the failures that they've been in. So for us, like, this is fun. Like, this is what we do. And I thought, hey, let's just bring this on podcast. And so here we are. And we're going to see if you listeners like it or not. So if you do like this, comment below if you want more episodes like this. If you don't like it, let us know, because then we won't. But first, we want to talk about the blunder of Bud Light. And I think everybody knows what I'm referring to. Tell the audience when this came out, because my husband is a Bud guy.
I'm not.
No. Okay, he used to be a Bud guy. He liked Bud Light. He liked Bud Heavy, like we were in college, and that was his drink of choice. And when they decided to come out with a certain marketing strategy, I remember he was just almost like laughing at this. Like, he couldn't believe it. Like, I don't know, like because you shared it with me, because I really try to block out a lot of like news, and so I hadn't really seen it. And then he came in and he kind of shared it with me. And what were your first thoughts of the Bud Light? We're gonna call it the Bud Light blunder, is what we're gonna call it.
Yeah. I don't know. It happened just a little over a year ago now, and you know, honestly, it was just I just couldn't believe that's the way it went. Growing up, watching the Super Bowl commercials, Bud Light always had the best. Bud Light and Budweiser, they always had the best commercials. One that comes to mind is the Budweiser frogs.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
Oh yeah, but it was just so far away from their customers. That it was just so way off from their customers that they sell to. And I just couldn't believe that it happened. And once I saw it, I knew it was going to ruin them. So
yeah, and I think everybody did. I don't know how. And it's funny because I'm not like, a marketing guru by any stretch, but the first thing they teach you in marketing is you have to market to your audience. Like, who are you serving?
Who are you marketing to?
Who are you marketing to? And I'm like, Bud Light has a certain person that they are marketing to. And that was not, and see, here's the thing. It is not about being, whether you like the transgender community or not, or you agree with it or not. It has nothing to do with that at all. Like, at all. I show compassion. Like, there's nothing. So, like, if that is you, I'm sorry, this is not the podcast for you, but it's not a debate of whether you agree with that lifestyle. It's about looking at the product and the customers that have been faithful. I mean, they have fans. If you guys ever heard me talk about like the raving fans, and Tony Robbins talked about it, like, they have raving fans because people put tattoos on their skin of their logo.
Oh yeah.
And wear their shirts with honor. Like, it is like, oh yes. I mean, I remember I made him a cake that said Budweiser on it for his 21st birthday. And he was like, this is awesome. Like, you're almost proud of it. They have faithful fans. And it was like they just completely disregarded them. And I kind of look at it like, you know, if you were somebody who was marketing to, you know, say moms who just had a baby, and that was your niche, that was it. You're not going to come in with like this masculine meathead bodybuilder guy and saying, you want to lose the weight, this is how you're going to do it, because the postpartum mom is going to turn it off and be like, no, that's not, that doesn't attract to me. And that's what happened. It's like, it wasn't that anybody had, I mean, some people might have issues with that, you know, certain, how, I don't know, like genre of people, but I do not. That had nothing to do with it. But that wasn't the genre. That's not the people they were trying to serve. It's like people like us in the Midwest, where it was just like, we want to go in the cornfield in our pickup trucks and put the bed down and watch the stars at night and crack open a Bud Light. That's what my husband did. I'm not a beer drinker, so that wasn't me. And so I didn't get all like up in arms about it. But my husband, who was like, he was almost like offended. Like, how dare you change everything about your company for what? For the, you know, because you want everybody to like you. That, I'm sorry, but in this world, like, you can't do that. Like, you can't, you're not going to serve everybody. Not every product is meant to be for everybody. And I saw this, he saw this, I think the whole world saw this as like, oh my gosh, this is going to be horrible, bad decision. I think everybody except for the CEO of Bud Light saw this, and now you see it. They're trying to like backtrack, and like, it's kind of like when you got caught in a lie and like you just start rambling.
Yeah, yeah.
But you had a really great idea. I want you to share with the audience the really great idea. This, and not that anybody of Bud Light importance is going to probably hear this, but this is a great advertisement. Bud Light people, if you're listening, if you do this ad, I really think you might get some of your audience back. Probably not all of them, but a lot of them. So you tell them your pitch, like your if they put an ad, because we were talking about the Super Bowl. If they would have done this ad for the Super Bowl, they probably would have won back.
They should have just came out and did it right away.
Yeah. Okay, so tell them the premise, like set it up for our audience here.
Two guys sitting in a garage. One guy, you know, working underneath his car and just kind of ticked off at his buddy that's sitting beside him on the mechanic's chair. You know, they're sitting there talking about something, you know, some sort of dispute. And it just had to be so simple, you know, sitting in a garage at night, dim light, you know, working underneath a car, and like so many guys do, sharing a beer, working on their cars. And when the guy underneath the car just ticked off at his buddy for something that he did wrong, and all the guy had to do is reach down in the cooler, grab a Bud Light, hand it to his buddy underneath the car, and say, sometimes you don't need a sorry. The only way to say sorry is by giving a beer. And I think that would have done a lot.
Yeah. Just for them to admit it, because that would have showed admittance. And
yeah,
we all know, we would have all known, like, exactly what that would.
They would have owned up to it. They would have admitted to, you know, their faithful, you know, customers that they kind of messed up.
Yeah.
And would have put it all out there, and they wouldn't have to say sorry, because we live in a society now where everybody has to apologize for everything they did wrong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that
taking ownership, I think. And so I think that's genius. Like, they should totally do that, because it would mean every guy who drinks Bud Light would get it. And they would be like, yeah, sometimes the best way to say sorry is with a beer, and just get it. And they would understand it and know it, and their audience would get it. So I think it's genius. We should submit it. I don't know. That's like royalty fees. They're going to do it. And we're going to be like, hey, right here on What Went Wrong podcast.
Ahead, do it. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the taking ownership. It's looking at your audience. Again, if you want to branch out and you expand your audience, which maybe that's what they were trying to do, there's different ways of doing it. You don't just like backslap you don't backslap your oldest child when your second child comes in. You know, it's like, you got to love on them too. And I feel like they felt backslap. Another company that did this is Disney. And we are faithful Disney people in our household. We love Disney World. We have Disney Plus. Like, we love all of that. But they have made some really bad decisions, some really big blunders in probably the last 3 to 4 years
Yeah.
with the way that they're
Yeah.
running their company, the way that they decided to even run Disney World during, COVID shutdowns and transgender things for, families. Again, this is not an attack on that community, but it is also preserving what the founding fathers of that company wanted. Do you think Walt Disney he would be turning over in his grave right now for some of the things that they were allowing and what the CEO allowed to do and in the movies and changing all these characters and different things to succumb to the times? And I'm sure I'm going to get some hate mail from this, but what is that teaching our kids? Like, there are so many things. It's like, oh, we have to make everybody feel a certain way instead of making other people feel accountable for their own feelings. And it stings because, like, with Disney, again, it's hurt their bottom line, which
Oh,
I
yeah.
think they're seeing. And I don't
Yeah.
know any of the new stuff. Did they fire the CEO currently?
Yeah.
The,
I think they brought back.
they brought back, right? They were making some positive changes to that.
Maybe.
So
Yeah.
again, I kind of blocked that out a little. If put some in the comments, but like, I know that they were making changes now for they're realizing the mistakes. They're loyal fans of who, again, it's a marketing thing. Who are you trying to attract? What is your target audience? We have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen to this. It's like, if you have a product or service, like, who are you trying to attract? And again, you cannot please everybody. We live in a society where it's like, we have to please everybody. And like you said, apologize for everything. Oh, I'm sorry I offended you. Oh, I'm sorry I said that. Oh, I'm sorry. Like, no, you believe what you believe and I believe what I believe. And can't we just come to some understanding of just like treat each other with kindness and move on and stop with the um like changing everything for everybody else?
I think the biggest problem with Disney is they're taking something that's it's supposed to be a magical experience for the child.
Yeah.
They're completely zone out the world around them. They are focused on this thing and they are engulfed with it. Then they add in something that does not need to be sexualized. They add it in and twist it to make it more inclusive. So then that completely breaks this magical thing, and then the kid has to ask, like, why is there two dads, or why is there two moms, or why are two guys dancing together in the movie? That and it just completely ruins the experience. Instead of transporting this child into this magical experience where they can close out all of that, you know, um, all that worldly stuff and be in this magical spot for just a moment and not have any worries. We're bringing it back in, and then in that and then and then parents have to worry about, like, okay, we're gonna have to explain this or do this, and it ruins it. It's it's supposed to be the magical part. And
Yeah. And again, like, everybody has their own beliefs and what is right and what is wrong. But I think what you're saying too is like, why do we have to take something that's not political, that's not sexual, and why do we have to put this thing on it and this big controversy on it and change everything up? And instead of just doing like like Snow White, no woman is gonna fall asleep for I don't know how many years or whatever, Snow White, right? And there's like little dwarves that could, like, that's like it's fantasy. It's not even like real. And so like kids can engulf and like vision and and play and have imagination, which is like the top tier of what we want kids to have. And then we bring our own garbage into it as adults, and it's like then we change everything and we're adding this and we're tweaking this because of the times, because of this, instead of just leaving it in this imaginative place that it's really meant to be. Again, this is not like an attack on a certain like, heterosexual or homosexual or transgender or, racial or anything like that, because they're really all races are represented in Disney, some probably more than others, or there's controversy on that. We can bring in new stories of imagination. Like, why do we need to change? Why can't we just like add on to? And yes, there are conversations that like as parents, like we need to bring in um, to help our kids understand different cultures and different decision making and taking our own ownership into it. But again, it's like standing for your values
Well,
and
yeah,
what Walt Disney really stood for in the beginning.
those conversations, they need to be on your own terms. So when you put it into a movie, then you have to decide whether or not you're going to be, in there and, you know, go with it or not watch the movie. And there's some Disney stuff that we're not going to watch. And we just, it takes that decision away from parents to do that themselves.
Well, and where it doesn't need to be.
It doesn't need to be there.
Like,
yeah.
there are certain things that, like, okay, if it was a placement where it was valid, like, but it's put in places that it really doesn't need to be, where it's just supposed to be fun and magical and imaginative, and they don't do that. And especially like, different things that they have done even at Disney World and different experiences and stuff like that. It's like, why are we changing that for what? Like, what was the benefit of that? And again, this is just our opinion. We like put your opinion on there. I'm sure this is gonna like raise a few eyebrows and like, definitely bring it. But this is where, even as a company, if you just look at this as a company, as a stockholder, I would be ticked, because they are making decisions that are crushing the bot, like not working for the benefit of it. And for what? You can't even say it's like a social stance, because it's not. And so there's really no backbone on that stance. Okay, so we're almost up on time. What would be another business blunder that you have seen, even if it's not recent, like maybe in the past, that like, because we watch a lot of like what went wrong stories, and like where were they now or where were they then, and like, is there one that
Coke
stands
and
out?
New Coke.
Coke and New Coke. Again, avid Coke drinker. He does not like change, people. Okay, so stop changing it. No. Okay, so elaborate. Maybe there's some people listening that don't know what you mean by Coke and New Coke.
Yeah. So Coke was always in competition with Pepsi, or when Pepsi came about, they became competitors. And so they set out to beat Pepsi, and in a taste test, taste war, whatever. So they came up with a new formula called New Coke. They tested it, and a few people preferred it because it tastes a little more like Pepsi. And then they quit making Coca-Cola Classic, or it was just Coca-Cola at the time,
Yeah.
and came out with New Coke for a short period of time. They soon found out that people don't like that. Their market, their loyal Coke drinkers did not like it. They like Coke because it tastes like Coke, not because it tastes like Pepsi. And it went away for a little bit, and New Coke came in, and not too long after, they brought Coca-Cola back, but it came back as Coca-Cola Classic, and the rest is history.
Yeah. I think that was the only time when Coke actually went, like Pepsi rose and Coke demand went down.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Like statistically or however, but
definitely boosted their market when they brought back Coca-Cola Classic. So.
And maybe that was their intent the whole time. You never know.
Yeah, somebody said that was when they made the change from cane sugar to high fructose corn syrup, and that was their way to change it, so you wouldn't notice the change in taste, because there is a little bit of difference in taste. So somebody
Who knows? Like
But
that's going to the grave of whoever.
yeah, but I also heard that Pepsi and Coke on the same day switched. They announced on the same day that they're going to switch from cane sugar to high fructose corn syrup. So I don't know.
Who knows? But don't change the formula. If you're on here and if you want a failure, just do the opposite of what the people are loving on you right now. Just do the opposite, like piss off your raving fans, and you'll be in a failure.
Do you remember when Heinz ketchup made green ketchup?
No.
Yeah.
I just did a podcast on Heinz too.
I know.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
I bet people did not like that.
I don't think it sold well. No,
I don't.
because
Stick to what works, people. Why do we have to reinvent the wheel?
Pepsi Clear. I bet if they brought back Pepsi Clear, it'd sell off the shelves.
It probably would, because people would think
For
it's like
nostalgia.
more. Well, and they think it's like better for them.
Oh yeah, it's healthy now.
It's
'cause
healthy
there's
now
no-
because it's clear,
no
right?
coloring.
Again, be innovative. The innovation needs to happen, okay? But also remember, if what is working, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Like, especially for, when we're talking about big companies, right? Like billion dollar companies, multi-billion dollar companies that have been around for generations. So of course they're going to have the blunders, they're going to have the failures. Even with like Bud Light right now and with Disney and things that like we need to switch with like what goes on in the social times. But it's also like, at what expense? Like, who is your target audience? Who are your loyal fans? Who are loving what you're doing with your product or service right now? And you're just like, you just forget them, or all your morals or your values or your ethics. Like, oh, well, this is what everybody's doing, so I don't have any morals or ethics. Like, for us, we are a strong Christian home. And so we believe in, the nuclear family. That is what our belief is. We don't have any hatred towards any other style of living, but that is our belief, and that is how we want to raise our kids. And a lot of things that we as consumers and people who love different things and we're loyal to them, when you get a slap in the face like the ugly stepchild, it's kind of like, oh, our business isn't good enough for you to do that. Like, you have, you can be innovative, you can be inclusive in other ways, not like turning your back completely and slapping them in the face, And so remember who you're serving. First of all, if you want to be profitable, if you're wanting to make money, look at who you're serving. Like, let's just cut out like offense here. Let's just put it away. Let's put our egos, our pride, basics of marketing. Like, who are you serving? What is your product or service? Who are they? What do they like? What do they want? What keeps them up at night? What desire do they have? Like Bud Light, like a guy wants a cold beer after a long, hard day of work. He just wants to chill, work on his car, hang out with his wife or whatever, whatever that is for him. Remember them. Like, don't turn your back on them. If it's Disney, which is like wholesome family, nuclear, Christian based man who founded it, don't forget them. You can be inclusive with other people without slapping the other people in the face. So looking at the failures of these big businesses, I really hope it helps you as an entrepreneur or someone who has something they want to serve or give to the world, to look at who you're serving and say, this is who I'm serving, this niche right here. No offense to anybody else, but these are the people that I'm called to serve. Even in the Bible, it says, my sheep will hear my voice and they will follow me. The people will hear your voice and follow you. And you can move on. And when you become a multi-billion dollar company, just remember this, like, stick to your roots. Like Chick-fil-A, they have stuck to their roots. Hobby Lobby, they have stuck to their roots. Even Coors, if you guys don't know the story of Coors, I should do a whole thing on that family legacy. And yes, it's a beer company. If you're not a drinker, I'm not a drinker, but the family legacy that they have left is amazing. And I'll do a whole podcast on the Coors family and the legacy that they leave, and the wealth legacy, what they have to do in that family to continue the wealth. It's phenomenal. Like, not very many wealthy families are doing it. So remember the legacy you want to leave. Remember who you want to serve, so that you don't have as many failures. But if you have had that failure and you've fallen into that trap, remember, you can learn from it. And the failure is what's going to lead to what went right. So if you're doing something wrong, it's going to lead to the right. Any closing thoughts for our audience?
If you got a good thing, don't change it.
Got a good thing, don't change it. Just keep it simple, man.
Yep.
This guy doesn't like change, so let's just stick to
That's right.
stick to good. And I'm kind of the opposite. I'm like, innovate, imaginate, do this, and I'm all about innovation. But really, like, but you can't forget where you started. You can't forget what you're doing if it's serving a big audience as well. Like if it's feeding your business, you cannot like radically innovate and just switch everything up on a dime. Like it's just not smart business. Like if you want to know what went wrong, like just switch everything. Right? Like
right.
Switch the formula, switch the audience and see what happens. And I mean they're backpedaling that. So until next time, remember that what went wrong. See, he's got me all flustered here. What went wrong will lead to the what went right as long as you keep taking one step forward. Until next time. Bye, guys.